Welcome, everyone. Tonight we're diving into the primal fear of being home alone, the kind that makes every creak and shadow feel sinister. The stories you'll hear are inspired by real events, submitted by people whose safe havens turned into places of terror. So settle in, but don't get too comfortable. After tonight, the darkness outside your window might seem a little more menacing. Turn off the lights, lock your doors, and prepare for 10 terrifying true stories of being home alone. Sometimes the most frightening things happen when we believe we are at our safest. Our first story comes from Chloe, 17, a typical teenager enjoying a rare night to herself. She was home alone for the night, her parents away on a short trip, leaving her to her own devices and the quiet solitude of their suburban home. The only light came from the flickering television screen. Engrossed in a movie, she eventually paused it to get a drink from the kitchen. The house was silent except for the gentle hum of the refrigerator, a sound that usually brought comfort, but tonight it felt different. As she stepped into the dark hallway, a sudden chill ran down her spine, raising goosebumps on her arms. It wasn't just the temperature, it was a feeling of being watched, a primal instinct screaming at her to turn back. At the far end of the hall, barely illuminated by a small nightlight plugged into the wall, something caught her eye. There stood a tall, shadowy figure, its form indistinct, yet undeniably present. It was unnaturally still, almost as if it were absorbing the light around it, becoming one with the darkness. The air grew heavy, thick with an unseen dread. Chloe froze, her heart pounding in her chest like a drum, her breath caught in her throat. She was completely paralyzed, unable to scream or even move a muscle. Then, the figure's head tilted slightly, as if acknowledging her presence, watching her with an unseen gaze. The sheer terror broke through her paralysis. She dropped the glass in her hand, shattering it on the tile floor and shattering the silence that had held her captive. Without a second thought, she bolted out the back door, running blindly through the yard to her neighbor's house, desperate for safety. Her frantic story led to a thorough search of the house by her father and the neighbors. The police were called, but there was no sign of a break-in, no forced entry, nothing out of place except for the shards of broken glass on the kitchen floor. But Chloe knew what she saw. She never felt truly safe in that house again, always sensing unseen eyes watching her from the shadows, a constant reminder of that terrifying night. Sometimes, the scariest things aren't the noises you hear in the night or the bumps in the attic, but what you see standing perfectly still, lurking just beyond the edge of the light. The silence of home can be deceiving, lulling you into a false sense of security. And sometimes, despite all appearances, it's not empty at all. David lived alone in an old, secluded house, far on the edge of town. It was a place where shadows danced freely and the wind whispered secrets through the aged trees. One night, as a storm brewed outside, just as he was drifting into a restless sleep, the kind where reality and dreams blur, 3 loud, sharp knocks echoed violently through his silent house, cutting through the night like a knife. He sat bolt upright in bed, his heart racing like a trapped bird. No one, absolutely no one, should be at his door at 1 a.m. on a night like this. An unsettling silence followed, stretching on, then another round of insistent, deliberate knocking shattered the quiet once more. He crept cautiously to the window, peering through the blinds. No one was in sight, just an oppressive darkness that seemed to swallow everything whole. The knocking grew frantic, escalating into a furious pounding, as if some unseen force desperately wanted in, demanding entry. Overcome with dread, David hid trembling in his closet, clutching his phone and calling 911, whispering frantically to the operator, his voice barely audible. The relentless pounding continued, echoing through the house, until the distant wail of sirens grew louder, finally approaching, then abruptly stopped, leaving an unnerving silence in its wake. Police arrived, searching the property but found nothing. No footprints in the muddy ground, no sign of a car, just deep, inexplicable scuff marks marring the surface of the door. David never learned the identity of the midnight visitor, or the reason for their terrifying persistence. Sometimes, the unknown, the unexplainable, is the most terrifying visitor of all, leaving a mark far deeper than any physical wound. And sometimes, the only evidence left behind is the lingering fear, the chilling reminder of what might have been, forever etched into the mind. The silence that descends after the storm has passed, the eerie stillness, is often the hardest burden to bear, a constant echo of the terror. He never truly slept soundly in that house again, forever haunted by the memory of that night. Would you, after such a terrifying encounter? Would you ever feel safe again? Sarah had just moved into her first apartment, old, creaky, and full of character. One night, while unpacking, she heard a faint whisper over her music. She paused, listening. There it was again, coming from her bedroom. The front door was locked. She was alone. Gathering her courage, she crept to the bedroom, heart pounding. The whisper stopped. The room was empty. Relieved, she turned to leave, then felt a cold breath at her ear. A whisper, "Get out!" Sarah didn't scream. She ran, leaving everything behind. She broke her lease the next day. Some voices aren't in your head, they're right behind you. And sometimes your new home doesn't want you there. The scariest words are the ones whispered in the dark. Would you ever go back? Sarah never did. Mark was house-sitting for his parents, avoiding the creepy, unfinished basement. One night he heard slow, heavy footsteps below his bedroom. He grabbed a bat and crept downstairs. The kitchen was empty, but the basement door was ajar, deadbolt unlocked. Then, footsteps echoed from the darkness below. Someone was down there. Mark didn't investigate. He locked himself in the bathroom and called the police. They found no one, and the only way in or out was that kitchen door. Mark never figured out who or what walked in his parents' basement. Sometimes the things we fear as children are real, and sometimes they're waiting for us to come back. The basement stayed locked after that, but Mark never forgot the sound of those footsteps. Some doors are better left closed. Would you have gone down? Mark never did again, and neither should you. Jessica's house backed onto dense woods, peaceful by day, ominous by night. Alone, she saw a figure at the edge of the floodlit yard, motionless, watching. She ducked below the window, heart racing. When she looked again, the figure was gone. Relief, until the floodlight clicked off. In that instant, the figure was right at the window, face pressed to the glass. Jessica screamed and fell to the floor, too terrified to look again. Sometimes what's outside wants in, and sometimes it's already closer than you think. The woods hid many things, but that night they brought one to her door. She never felt safe in that kitchen again. Would you? Some things are best left unseen. Ben, a college student, was alone in his apartment for the weekend. He went to the bathroom, leaving the door open, until it wouldn't open again. The simple lock couldn't have engaged itself. He called out, thinking it was a prank, but silence answered. Panic set in. No windows, no way out. After desperate attempts, he finally picked the lock with a paperclip. The apartment was empty, doors and windows still locked. No one had come or gone. Ben spent the rest of the weekend barricaded in his room. Sometimes the scariest mysteries are the ones with no explanation. And sometimes you're not as alone as you think. Would you stay another night? Ben never did. Maria was home alone on a rainy night when her phone rang. Unknown caller. She answered. Silence, then a raspy voice. I see you. The caller described her blue blanket, the book in her lap, even the page she hadn't turned. Maria's blood ran cold. Her blinds were closed, but there was a gap. I like your book, the voice whispered, but you should really turn the page. She realized the caller was closer than the street, maybe inside. Terrified, she locked herself in the bathroom until morning. Police found no sign of a break-in, but the call had come from her own landline upstairs. Sometimes the threat isn't outside, it's already in your home. Maria never spent another night alone. Would you? The scariest calls come from inside the house, and sometimes you answer. Maria wished she hadn't. Liam, 16, was home alone for the weekend. After a night with a friend, he checked all the locks before bed. The next morning, the living room window was wide open, screen pushed out from the inside. Nothing was stolen, but the violation was chilling. Had someone been inside while he slept? He searched the house. Nothing. But the feeling of being watched lingered. Sometimes intruders don't want your things. They want you to know they can get in. Liam never told his parents, but he never slept soundly again. Would you? The scariest break-ins leave nothing missing, except your peace of mind, and the knowledge that someone was there. Mike and Jenna thought they had it all figured out. They invested in a state-of-the-art security system, the kind that promised peace of mind and impenetrable protection. Sensors meticulously placed, cameras strategically positioned, and silent alerts sent directly to their smartphones. They believed they were safe, cocooned in a web of technology. One night, while Jenna was out at a friend's, Mike's phone buzzed, jolting him awake. Living room motion detected. A shiver ran down his spine. He cautiously checked the cameras. Nothing. The living room was eerily still, bathed in the faint glow of the security lights. Then, a second alert pierced the silence. Kitchen motion detected. Still nothing on the feed. The kitchen appeared untouched, undisturbed. A third alert, more urgent than the last. Bottom of stairs. Panic began to set in. Mike, his heart pounding in his chest, locked himself in the bedroom and frantically called the police, his voice barely a whisper. They arrived quickly, sirens wailing, and thoroughly searched the house. They found no signs of forced entry. Every window and door securely locked. The next morning, Jenna, shaken by the events of the night, began to clean up. That's when she found muddy shoes hidden deep inside a kitchen cabinet, and, tucked behind the shoes, a hand-drawn map of the house, its details meticulously rendered, with the master bedroom circled ominously in red. The intruder had been inside all along, a ghost in their machine, skillfully hiding from the cameras, and only fleeing when the approaching sirens shattered the silence. Sometimes technology, no matter how advanced, can't protect you from the darkness that's already taken root within your walls. Mike and Jenna never truly felt safe again in their own home. The sense of security they once had was irrevocably shattered. Would you ever feel safe again? The scariest alarms aren't always the loud, blaring ones. They're the silent, insidious ones you can't hear until it's too late. And the ones that come too late, after the damage is already done. The house was never truly empty, even when it appeared to be. And neither was their fear. It lingered, a constant, unwelcome guest. Clara lived alone, but things kept going missing. Food, books, little things out of place. She set traps, found them disturbed, but doors and windows were always locked. One night, home early and unwell, she heard breathing from her closet. Not hers, someone else's. Frozen, she realized. Someone had been living there, sneaking out when she was gone. She slipped out, called police from a neighbor's. They found a gaunt man hiding in a crawl space behind her closet, living there for months. He'd watched her, moved around her home, unseen. Clara had never truly been alone. Sometimes, the scariest monsters are the ones you never see. And sometimes, they're just a few feet away. She moved out that week. Wouldn't you? And with that, our journey through the shadows of being home alone ends. 10 stories, each a chilling reminder that our safest spaces aren't always safe. As you turn out the lights tonight, listen closely to the silence. Double-check your locks, trust your instincts, and remember, you never truly know what's out there. If you have your own story, share it below. For now, I'll leave you to the quiet of your own home. Good night, if you can sleep.